Radio. This is Eduardo, joined here by Noah. And Noah is going to run us through, well, essentially all the action you're going to see tonight, this week.
Right, so we are now here on Wednesday at the pre-show, which is 5:40 Pacific time, PM on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. We have the show that starts every day, except every day weekly at 6 p.m. Pacific. And then we have the post-show right after on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And Eduardo, can you please walk us through what we have today?
Sure. So one of the big changes is we've moved to a weekday schedule. So essentially, for those of you who aren't aware, probably if you're here, you are. But Silent Hill Ascension is a socially interactive streaming series where all of you collectively at home shape and experience its ever-evolving story. You're going to collaborate and compete with others to try to make the choices you want to see. Now, when those decisions end, the choice that you make locks as canon. That's the one that goes in the episodes. That's what essentially happened. That canon story is shaped by you, the participating audience, every day. We've moved to a weekday schedule. We'll clear the air on that again as we move on through our pre-show and our post-show. But for now, we wanted to make sure that you had a chance to catch up on all the action we've had from yesterday. So, scene from yesterday is going to play where Toby is going to deliver to what Xavier asked for and making a request for what he wants to return. But Xavier gives him some harrowing news. Let's watch.
What is this?
I did what you wanted. Now you're gonna give me what I want, and then I'm done. I can't take this shit anymore.
A blight fetish.
Hey! Did you hear me? I want Rachel's ass dragged in here, and I want her to pay for what she did to Joy.
Rachel will be dealt with. I promise.
No more of your cryptic bullshit, Xavier. This happens today. Now.
Toby, have you ever wondered why your life turned out the way it has? Your sister. She had a hard life too, didn't she? And those people you worked with at the steel mill? The ones you got killed?
I don't have to hear this.
Toby, don't you see? It's you. You're the source of the withering.
No.
You are at the root of the rot that's destroying this town. And that rot must be severed.
This is just more Foundation bullshit.
Toby, if you don't do this, it will consume this town. And when it's done chewing Hope's Junction to the bone, it will spread like a disease to the entire world.
I'm supposed to what? Sacrifice myself for the piece of shit people in this town?
It's the only way.
Not for me.
Welcome back, everybody. I hope you enjoyed that, whether that was your first time seeing that scene or you saw it again, because after all, there is a lot going on with Toby right now. One of our other key scenes from yesterday involved Toby as well. Essentially, while drinking from the bottle, if you haven't had a chance to catch up with it, had to deal essentially with seeing Joy again, the fog rolling in. Some audience members actually hitting on him, and as that scene finished, Toby actually saw himself in a mirror as a monster. So that's a compliment to the scene you saw. That was also yesterday. So that way, wanted to make sure you're all up to speed on what's going on with Toby. But we should really talk, I think, a little bit about the story so far. So that's Toby. So we're actually going to move a little bit to Norway here because things are slowly starting to move forward in terms of what's going on in Norway, Noah, right?
Right. So yeah, in Norway, a lot has been going on. We have basically Astrid being informed that her mother's corpse is missing. And
I mean, it got found again. That's the thing. It's like, oh, we found it, but by the way, it's desecrated. You know, like secondhand corpse. It's like a friend buys your corpse and returns it to you broken the same way they would a book. We all have friends like that, and unfortunately, Astrid has to deal with that, but on a dead body, which isn't great.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot going on in Norway as well. But let's talk a little bit about what we just saw with basically Xavier telling Toby that he's the root of all evil. And he's the cause for everything that's going wrong in the town. Basically with the withering and all. That's a big one to drop on you before you get your ass kicked by audience cameo members.
Yeah. Thank you, by the way, audience, for being an extra in our show, for being immortalized as the people who beat up Toby. You don't actually necessarily know what your roles are going to be, so I hope, for the people who did get that contest in their favor, that you did enjoy your scenes there. I mean, that is the thing, though, right? You're correct to highlight it. What's happening with Toby is, Xavier, it's one thing for Xavier to tell him that, right? Because he's head of the Foundation, might have his own agenda. But it's another thing for Toby to experience it.
Right, totally. He's really experiencing it now. And yeah, sorry. Eduardo, can you tell us a little bit more about what led to this events that occurred to Toby? It has a lot to do with you, the audience, right?
Yeah, so that's one of the things. We're going to delve into that after we show up a decision for Norway, but stick around. We're going to delve deeply into what's going on with Toby and some of the audience choices that have led to him being on redemption, but with negative hope. In the meantime, we're looking at decisions. There's one closing today for Norway. If you could read that for our audience, Noah, as well.
Yeah, so we have this big decision to make. How will Astrid react to her dead mother talking to her? Will she A, ask for forgiveness, which is the redemption option? Will she B, demand an apology, which would be the suffering option? Or will she stab her, which is the domination option? Eduardo, these are crazy decisions we have to make here. Could you please break down the specifics for us?
Sure. So one of the things we like to do on the shows on Wednesday is on Monday we talk about the narrative a lot, but on Wednesday we talk a little bit more about what does it mean in terms of our fate system, right? It's essentially, the dead mother coming back to life, so to speak, is asking her daughter, be a good girl and stab mama in the eye. But,
Yeah.
There's a hint there. That's the damnation option. So you shouldn't listen to your dead mother's wishes in this case. But it's also a question of what you, the audience, would like to see. When I actually checked this decision, the suffering option was actually succeeding. And to me, that makes sense. It's, in a way, the redemption option is for Astrid to, ask for forgiveness and what it is. But Astrid's dealing with enough, in my view, as well.
Yeah, Astrid really is at the wit's end at this point. She has so much stuff going at her. Like, you saw this crazy monster thing that was chasing her. She has her dead mother telling her to stab her in the eye. Talk about toxic relationships. But let's talk about the stuff that leads to the stuff we're seeing, which is the fate and hope system that we have. So the decisions and endurance scenes and puzzles, all of those contribute to if the characters will face redemption, suffering, or domination in the grand Silent Hill Ascension final. And their fate is decided across the season. So a character's hope will be needs to be high enough for them to survive a crucial story moment. So you better play those puzzles. You better make those decisions if you want a character's hope up. So Eduardo, can you explain more?
Sure. So when you're taking that decision, right, you see, redemption, suffering, damnation, that's essentially the fate of the character that's being decided. But their hope is actually part of something else. That's the actions that you as the audience are taking, both within the endure scenes, one of which you'll see live as soon as today's show is ending and the scenes end, you'll get an endure scene that helps raise the character's hope with success or lower with a lack. We'll explain that in a bit as well. And the mindfulness puzzles, as Noah mentions, are also a good way, regardless of time of day, regardless of where you live and what's going on, you have a chance to raise a character's hope by doing well in those. And the thing is, it's kind of like that difference between what you as an audience want and what the character sentiment is living through, right? And you kind of need both of those to have to have a successful dish. Essentially, your recipe is comprised of multiple ingredients, and both of those end up defining what happens to our characters. So again, this is important. Start looking at essentially kind of where the fate is lying for some of our characters. Now, that said, a lot of the decisions are made through influence points. You get to earn those through the puzzles and the adversities. Noah, if you could walk us through that as well for our audience.
I would love to, Eduardo, because once the decision is made by the audience, it's canon. So there's no reset button. It becomes part of the legacy. The decisions are defined by the influence points that you, the audience, uses to participate to influence the narrative. So the more influence points you have, basically, the more impact you have on the decision that you care about. And you can earn influence points by taking part in the endurance scenes during the live shows, which we'll explain in a bit, or by doing puzzles. And alternatively, you can also gain them via direct purchase or a season pass.
And tell you what, Nora, we're going to throw back that decision that we showed earlier, the one closing today. That's going to go back on screen. Some audience members might have joined us, so if you could read that as well for them before we delve deep into essentially the meaning of this.
Yeah, this is a really tough one because we have the decision to make. How will Astrid react to her dead mother talking to her? So the redemption option is to ask for forgiveness. The suffering option is to demand an apology. And of course, the domination option is stab her. Harrowing.
And that's the thing. I'm checking it now, right? Like I'm checking in the application. I get the same information that the audience is, and the decision's closing in about 12 minutes. Right now, suffering is winning, but there's a rally for redemption. And these options aren't that far apart. It's 48% to 40. So there's quite a difference, but the amount of influence points isn't that high. So if you did want to turn the tide on this, because this was over the course of a day, you probably still have a chance if you have like a concerted effort. Now, setting all of that aside, the thing is, Astrid's current fate right now is kind of on that redemption path. A lot of you, the audience, especially in our first week of action, have chosen to take more of the redemption options. And as we go on, we've essentially established that, there's more to it. So some of you have started picking damnation more, and now we're seeing kind of you as an audience deciding a little bit across the options. And that's why suffering, I think, is a fan favorite with a lot of you, is because, Astrid's dealing with a lot. Now, Astrid, unlike Toby, who's also on redemption, has positive hope. And that's actually a really big difference, Noah.
Right. So the positive hope, again, means that he has a better chance of surviving crucial story moment, which is what it's all about. But really with Astrid, by the way, in my opinion, it's not because Astrid is going through a lot. I think it's because we are all secretly horror freak sadists, and we want to see people suffer in the safety of this app. Right? Maybe. I'm excited to see it because, enough with this goody two shoes redemption, okay? Let's stir some stuff up. Even though I really do, my heart does feel redemption in this one. So I'm not decisive myself on this.
Yeah, and I think part of it is also you as an audience are discovering the characters in as we go. By the way, one of the decisions from the key scene of yesterday that panned out is Astrid decided not to take the weird pills, which kind of made sense, but it turned out a lot of you liked chaos. The damnation option wasn't that far out. So I kind of liking that now we're having kind of our agents of chaos in the audience that are keeping things interesting and dynamic. And we're seeing a little bit more of you at home kind of being split on what to do as you discover more of our characters, more of their motivations, and more of the things they have to live through, which is great to see, by the way. We love seeing you essentially deciding what the story is going to end up as.
Yeah, and it's so seamless. It's crazy. I sometimes I forget that we're talking about collective decisions because in the end, you just see it like it's always been meant to be there. Which is really awesome to see. But yeah, we have this tight decision right now that's about to close. Let's check what's winning here.
I'll check again. It's loading for now. I'll definitely give the update, but again, it should still be suffering unless something miraculous just happened.
It looks like suffering at 48%.
Okay.
So it's really coming together. So Yeah, so the time is closing soon. Make sure you make the decision that you want to see happening. And I'm really curious to see any of those happening, to be honest. Whatever is involving the dead mother is interesting.
No, of course. No, sure. And the thing is, we'll see that live, right? That decision closes as the scene plays out. But because it's almost time for the show, we're just barely a little bit more, about 4 minutes out. There is an Endure scene coming up. We want to make sure you're prepared for that. So we're going to show that on screen from our lovely production team. And Noah, if you could walk us through what our audience is going to live.
Right, so our main story character will be in a very dark room with our beloved monster friend, Bruiser, the Bruiser, not just Bruiser. There's a very clear exit sign that our character wants to get to, but the Bruiser keeps smashing furniture in the way. So the one chance we have here is that the Bruiser is blind, similar to me without my glasses, and has to listen to figure out where our character is. So you as the audience have to, you can assist the character escape the room unscathed by timing your inputs to the commands that appear on screen.
Right. And the thing is, the Bruiser, unlike Noah, has also forgotten their contact, so they really can't help here. Now, the thing is, as we've been talking about our hope system, you know, if a character fails enough of these Endure scenes, they may not survive future encounters, and it may lead to their permanent death in the story. One of the big things, actually, where you can see that is that Toby featured a lot earlier on, and Astrid featured later. So as you, the audience, got more used to the endurance scenes, it turned out that at the start, it was much rougher to pass them. So Toby's hope went down, whereas Astrid hope, as she came into play later, still higher. But the reason you should take part and you're watching live is these endurance scenes are great places to earn large amounts of influence points. And you have to remember that, again, this is how the collective story is shaped. It's not a judgment on you, whether you succeed or fail. When you participate, it's already a delight, and you're helping shape the experience of Silent Hill Ascension here.
Yeah, we love you anyway, whichever way you choose to take. But yeah, like poor Toby, he really can't catch a break. We all were practicing our endurance skills and let Toby fall by the wayside.
I mean, that's the thing, right? I mean, the problem is, I guess, that Toby's already kind of fallen on the wayside, and that's a really rough one. So again, remember, we'll talk a bit more about Toby in the post-show, I think, because time is closing.
Time is closing. We are 2 minutes away from show. So Eduardo, can you please recap for us?
Sure. So the thing is, last week was a lot quieter, right? Tensions were rising and building up. Moment with Eva was a bit expected, as we talked about on Monday. This, on Monday, we saw Toby at the steel mill. We saw the fire. We saw the grit. Things are picking up fast. There's a lot of tension that is actively building around Toby. And, right now, Toby has the redemption path, but his hope is well in the negatives, which, fundamentally, Toby is down a path, which makes him seem like he's being a martyr, which is really problematic when one of the decisions that's on Silent Hill Ascension is sacrifice himself. All that said, we're about to see some more scenes coming up, but myself and Noah will be up in the post-show, so right after. So we'll have a few dev updates as well, but we'll break down the story, break down what it all means. So please do stick around with us. But in the meantime, it's time for you to enjoy the show. So I'm going to sign off along with Noah, and we'll see you in a bit.